All right, guys, so we're here with Shane again, my friend and riding buddy, and thought we would just do a quick update. We showed you before the rear rack that I built, the rear rack that he built, and today we wanted to give you a little update. Shane he went ahead and built a front one, but he also modified the back one. So Shane, kind of tell him what you did.
Sure. So I needed a project, I guess, and keep busy over the summer. So I went ahead and put together a new front rack. Same design as the previous one, 3/4 inch OSB on the bottom, and then I ripped a 2x4 to give about a 2-inch rail around the sides there. Used the same hardware and setup and the attachments as I did on the back one with these J hooks and knobs, and like I say, the video kind of previously explains all that for us. So I kind of cut it so it's just not so square and caveman-ish. Tapered it kind of towards the front bumper there.
Yeah, it kind of follows the contour of the front bumper. Really nice, actually, the way he got that. So.
I think it turned out pretty good. Yeah. We had to cut out a little section here on the front around that cowling to make it to slide up a little bit tighter. I noticed as I just was playing with it, I set a board up here and it was able to clear this cowling, so I put a backboard. I was just going to have kind of a U-shaped deal, but this turned out better and it gives it a place to tie down and stuff. So worked out pretty good. A lot of corners, a lot of edges. Originally I was going to just do a carpet, and when we were doing the back one, we thought, well, maybe a bed liner substance would work better and kind of waterproof it and work out good. So
yeah, part of the reason for that was when we wrapped it with carpet, you know, mine only comes in underneath maybe 6 or 8 inches, and Shane kind of had the same deal, and then realized, wait a minute, I kind of want it to cover the whole thing. And so then he pieced it in, but we found out when you're running and you get mud flying back there, it gets stuck up on the bottom of the carpet. And so Shane thought maybe some different material to coat it.
And it would have worked, but this was, I think, just a better option. So I went with some Herculiner, bed liner. I saw a few reviews. Project Farm out there on YouTube does a lot of reviews on different tools and different things, and he had a nice review on this. It was kind of the middle of the road as far as price, so I decided to stick with it and line it. I'd never worked with it before, and that was a little bit something that we were unfamiliar with, but it turned out just fine. So
now, wasn't that can about 30 or 40 bucks?
Yeah, it was about $30, but by the time you get carpet and spray and adhesive, you're in 20 or so it's not much different really.
And you got basically one rack out of each can. Didn't you get 2 cans, or you actually would have had some left, but it hardened
So I
up?
bought this 1 quart thinking that if I like it, I'll do the back. If I don't like it, I'll cover it with carpet. When I did the back, I wanted to seal it a little bit, and I put some exterior paint on it just to try to seal the wood a little bit. And I used about a half of a quart, and I was thinking this would do 2 racks, but it ended up just doing the one, and I had to purchase another quart to do the back rack.
What are the things, Shane, that you like about this bed liner coating as opposed to the carpet?
So after I got it built, we went for a 30-mile ride, and I had a little backpack right here. I put 1 bungee across it, and it did not move the whole entire trip. It was just really good. This is very, very rough, very textured, and it grips very, very well, and so it's going to hold your load and gear in place a lot better than that carpet where it was very, very slick.
And we learned a lesson about it's actually real water resistant to the point where we had a lake.
As soon as I put it on, before I went riding, I noticed that it's just on a flat ground, it goes forward. And so as soon as I got home and washed it, sure enough, I had a big puddle up here, and so I needed to do something different. So I had to drill a couple of drain holes in the corners there, and I knew I had a little bit left in the can. So I came back, it was about 2 weeks after I coated this originally and put the holes in. Came back, and I was going to use a little bit left in the can, and it was just frozen solid. It was just harder than rock. So I noticed that night when I got done with this, and that was another thing, is the carpet, you know, it took maybe an hour to cut and fold and staple and glue, and it was done. It takes 2 or 3 hours between each coat. So you're supposed to put a coat down, a thin coat, let it dry, put a second coat on, and then you had to flip it over.
So it is more time consuming.
Yeah, you know, you got 3, 6, 9, 12 hours of letting it dry altogether. So it's an all-day project. I came back the next morning and I took the brush and it was just harder than a rock. It was, yeah. And so I touched up a couple little spaces there that I thought needed it, but after that, this was done.
But this particular coating, it's a little bit, I mean, it's not soft to the touch, but it's got a little bit of give, it seems, to it.
A little bit.
And it's, and like Shane said, it's very grippy. There's all kind of surface area on here with just all the texture. So it's a rough type of finish, but we are just thinking that it's a good way to go, because it's gonna shed the water good. And now that he's got his little drain holes in, it's not gonna really hold the water too much. But it'll be resistant to water, mud, should be easier to clean up,
Yeah,
clean
definitely.
off.
Yep.
And so, something to consider.
So then on the back, I just did the exact same thing, same design. I took the hardware off and used the same hardware to do that, and it worked out just fine. One other update is on the first round on the back one, we took some heat shrink and put it over the J-hook to protect it from scratching the bars and your ATV. We noticed,
the rack.
we noticed after putting it on a few times and trying to shoot the video and trying to do some testing of it, that heat shrink wore off very, very quickly. It wasn't impressed with it at all. So when I got the new can for the back, I took the J-hook and dipped it in there and got it nice and coated with bed liner, so hopefully that'll stay and work a lot better than the heat shrink.
So Shane's pretty meticulous in what he does, and he documented a lot of this through the process. So we've got some still pictures that if you're interested, you can look, and it'll kind of show the build occurring, and we'll reference those and then explain what's happening as he's doing it. But you can see this when it was just wood and how he laid it out and get a better feel. Now it's total preference. If you want to carpet it, I kind of like the look of the carpeting better myself, but the practicality of this is hard to argue with. So I've still got to figure out. I did order today the hooks for mine. I've been just lazy and haven't got that done yet, but I really like the idea of how it comes on and off. And I wanted to wait until Shane actually had this out on the trails, because I mean, we ride rough sometimes, and on all the rocks and whatever, and with that load up there, I was wondering how well those J-hooks would hold this rack on. And Shane went out and he says it didn't even wiggle. So
this,
I mean,
this didn't, but
really
I was
good
more
luck.
impressed with the load that I put inside here that didn't even.
It held it too,
Oh, yeah.
but the rack to the bike and then the load to the rack, it
So
all held well.
Aaron and I have got another trip coming up in a couple of weeks where we're going to be out for several days, and we'll load these pretty heavy and put it to the real test. But it should be good.
Yeah, little teaser. That's our high mountain lake fishing trip, and we'll be going up in 2 weeks basically, and for another 4-day trip. So we'll get some good video and share that with you guys when we get back. So,
Kind of see how they compare then.
Yeah. So anyway, well, thanks for watching. So this is some of that video footage and just a few pictures that kind of document the process. These right here are those holes that I was talking about that Shane drilled. It was just holding water. This is that cutout above that little raised area just under the headlight. But you can see, I mean, it kind of follows the contour. There's no place on this where it rubs or contacts the actual plastic, so it's not going to damage it in that way. And it's obvious these things aren't going to win a beauty contest, but that wasn't our objective. We go on these big trips where we got to haul a lot of stuff, and the standard racks are just too small. You can notice one of the knobs on there was off when we put it on. We just forgot to put that fourth one back on. So here's some of the pictures. Shane used some little clamps to hold the edge pieces on. This is it, just as it was still pretty raw. Another look at it. And then this is right after he put a coat of finish on, maybe 2 coats. He said he had to do several. This, you can see the carpeted rack in the background. Again, just another look. Those knobs really don't get in the way much. You'd be surprised. The load just goes right over them without an issue. And again, you can see the back. Anyway, guys, thanks again for watching. Appreciate it.